Guys, oh, wait, gotta do it. That is our very own Steve Babcock right here on the guitar, guys. It's Monday, and I don't know if y'all know this yet, but the Central Texas Austin housing market is absolutely screwed. That's what everybody's saying, and that's why you're on here. Um, you can't even keep a straight face. Damn it, dude. Guys, I'm Chris. I'm a real estate broker in Dripping Springs, Texas, just outside of Austin. And that's Steve Babcock. He is a mortgage loan originator, also just outside of Austin in Lago Vista, Texas. He's on the north side of the lake. I'm on the south side of the lake. Man, I looked at some really nice lake properties last week. I haven't been out there. This is on the Deepwater Arm out by Lago. Like I could see the marina.
Talk
Um,
talk about an opportunity right now. I
ooh,
mean, there is no more lake property. It's been
no, no, no,
built.
no. And not
So
like these. Like these are up on the high bank. You've got massive views looking north over Lago Vista. And they've all got, big stairwells down to the water now because the water's 50 feet low or whatever it is. But there's still like 70 feet of water off the dock of these things. That's how deep the Colorado River is up there. So anyway, we're not going to talk about river properties. We're going to talk about how screwed the Austin housing market is. But before we do, guys, the show is called After Hours Real Estate for a reason. The whole idea is Steve and I sitting around like we're in a bar, having a beer, having a drink, talking the way a realtor and a lender do, and giving you guys a little glimpse behind the curtain. And so, if you're going to have a drink in a bar, you need a drink. My friend, what do you have today?
today I have some red wine, my friend.
It's a good man.
I
It's heart
do.
healthy. Heart healthy.
It's been treating me better than the beer has been treating me recently. So I'm sticking with it for the time being.
I don't blame you.
I
I was
did.
at a wedding weekend for a college buddy of mine, and yeah, I kind of abused my liver a little bit.
I did try some rice lager this weekend,
Oh yeah,
so it didn't
like a
have the
Sing
wheat
Town or
in it.
something like that.
It was actually a custom thing in San Marcos. They have
Huh.
a brewery there, and they made it's God, what's the brewery called? It's
Um,
gonna kill me that I can't remember what it's
there's
called.
one that I like there, and I can't remember now. Is it kind of like down between two streets downtown?
Yes, it is
Yeah.
actually.
So,
Yes, that's the
it
one.
has something to do with Aquarina Springs. Aqua Brew. It's Aqua Brew.
Is that what it was called?
I think that's what. If it's the same name still, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called.
We're gonna
It
have to
could
go
have
back
changed.
and explore. I think gonna have to go back and explore.
Uh, anyway, guys,
Mm.
sorry, off on a tangent, which we tend to do. My friend's drinking a red wine. I've got friends in from Colorado, really good friends of ours, and they brought me an IPA from Outer Range. I don't know if you can see it. Outer Range is a really, really good Colorado brewery. If y'all don't know, mm. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers, sir.
So let's dive into this, guys. We've been doing this a lot lately, and we grab news articles, really kind of from all over. The one today is Newsweek, and I guess I did it last week, and I think it was a good thing. I'm going to drop the article in here in case you want to go after the fact and read it, because we're not going to go through the whole thing. But this article has caused me to pull some data, which I wrote down, and I'll go through that. But let's see exactly how screwed the Austin housing market is. Are you ready for this, man?
Oh man.
Oh, after having pulled through a dramatic home price correction over the past couple of years, the former pandemic boomtown of Austin, Texas, is now navigating even more troubled waters as buyers are scared off by brewing economic uncertainty and are failing to show up for the city's growing housing supply. Guys, our housing supply is going up. It really is. Builders are building a lot of new home inventory right now. Not in Austin, but in the Austin MSA. Our market here was showing signs of price stabilization after unprecedented declines as buyers re-entered the market after the 3% interest rate hangover
I
finally
love how
wore
they
off.
use the word unprecedented, like 2008 never happened. But please continue. These things
By
don't
the way,
happen except for the few times they've happened. Sorry,
the
keep
times
going.
it happened, it never happens.
Man,
And guys,
you got
by
to
the
sell
way,
articles, right? You got to get clicks.
yeah, look, if this is your first time watching, this is what we do. We rip articles like this to shreds because there's not a lot of credibility. It's all about headlines. And, if you read the first line, you're like, oh, God, Austin is screwed. Or if you don't pay attention. But anyway, it was showing signs of stabilization after unprecedented declines as buyers re entered the market after the 3% hangover finally wore off at the beginning of the year. He's talking about this year, which is kind of crazy. Scott Turner, founder of the Austin-based Riverside Homes, told Newsweek, by the way, Riverside Homes is a home builder. And they also, if I'm thinking of the right home builder, they build in a price point that's not represented in the median home price. I think they're a custom.
I'm having trouble understanding this sentence. As buyers
Basically, what
re-entered the
he's
market
saying,
after the 3% interest rate hangover. What is the 3% interest rate hangover that
the
finally wore
artificially,
off at the beginning of this year?
well, the artificially suppressed rates, and when they went up, he's saying that was a hangover. And at the beginning of the year, buyers started coming back into the market. The funny thing is we have more buyers entering the market now than we did at the beginning of the year. And every week I look at in Dripping Spring specifically because I've got a lot of listings out here. In Dripping Spring specifically, I look at the number of under contracts that have happened in the last 7 days. I go by week,
Sure.
and last week was actually the highest number of contracts that we've had all year
But
in a
I'm
week.
I'm confused with the number 3% interest rate hangover. What does that mean?
He's saying that when we had three for like a three handle on the interest rates back during COVID, when that went up in 2022, he's saying that's the hangover, 3% interest
And
rate
that
hangover.
wore off at the beginning of the year, huh?
That's what I'm saying. Like that's not true. I
Because
don't know.
rates really haven't changed. If you look again, we go over this. Rates are doing this right now, and
Oh,
they're still within their range of where they've been going up and down, and so they've kind of been doing the same thing. So this person's stupid, or I'm stupid.
one of the two. Um, but he doesn't have a nationally syndicated show, so I think we know the answer to that. Interesting thing about interest rates, and guys, when we quote interest rates on here, it's not a promise to lend. We're not telling you what you can get.
Well, I haven't said any interest rates. I'm reading the words. Yes.
All we're doing is we're going to mortgage interest rate daily and telling you what the average is. And I'm prefacing that because I'm about to tell you that. Today, the average interest rate on mortgage rate daily for a conventional loan, it's just easier to talk about conventional loans for me. It is 6.82%. That's the average. Stephen, do you have any idea what the average rate was last week?
Before I even mention anything, it's probably very similar. But before I even mention anything else, do you realize how many bits of information, depending on who you're working for, but of course, but how many bits of information goes into what kind of rates we see when we pull rates for
Oh,
someone?
I mean, there's got to be probably 50 or 60 data points on a
It's
person.
about 42.
Okay.
So the system will take 42 different pieces of information about someone, put that into the system, then they spit out a range of interest rates, usually 10 or 20 banks. You click on the bank, it opens up about 20 different interest rates. Each one has a cost next to it. And so
Yeah.
people get angry with, well, what's your rate? Just tell me what your rate is. And man, that's like somebody saying, like, tell me what my blood pressure is. Tell me what the blood pressure is. Just tell me what the number is. And like, dude, it's different for everyone. Okay. I understand what you're asking me, but there is no way for me to answer. Legally today, it's impossible to answer because, to give you an answer, I then have to put an APR and a bunch of other stuff with it. Anyways, I just wanted to throw that out there. It's just it's not easy, and people don't understand why it's not easy.
Last year at this time, it was about 3/4 of a percentage point higher than what we are now. It was still just over 7.5. It was like 7.54, I think I remember.
I'll
So
tell you, it has been going
rates,
somewhere between 6.5 and 8.
yeah, that's what they've maintained since basically
Just
2022.
It's just been doing this. If you look at it on a graph, we've been trending lower with that recently, but it still goes up and goes down and goes up and goes down, and it's all within this like set range.
Yeah.
Um,
Anyway, so let's move on. The economic uncertainty caused by tariffs and the risk of recession definitely affected their mentality, making them more cautious and leaving housing inventory levels at a nearly all-time high. Nearly all-time high. By the way, they're going to tell us later that the high level that we're at is 2017. So anyway, and with the amount of houses that have been built in Austin over the last 20 years, I mean, I guess, yeah, it's always going to be at an all-time high because you're just getting more people in more houses.
I mean, I went on to the mortgage market, not mortgage market, the What's the website we go to check rates?
I don't know.
Help me out here.
Mortgage
Anyways,
News
I
Daily?
was looking at the data
Oh,
and
Mortgage News Daily, yeah.
Mortgage News Daily. Thank you. And the rate today that they're showing was the same 1 month ago.
Yeah.
And then it was the same again about a month earlier than that. And it was just
Well,
again, it's been doing this. It's like anyway, yeah, keep going.
okay. But there's downtown Austin. That doesn't look anything like Austin anymore. Why it matters. Between 2020 and February 2020, May 2022, median sales price of a home in Austin jumped by more than 60%. In fact, it's 69%. According to Redfin data, reaching a peak of $659,500. The increase was mainly a result of a massive influx of out-of-state newcomers sparked by the rise of remote work, which allowed Americans to relocate to more affordable, more livable cities and turn their back on expensive metropolises. They're going to move to Austin to turn their back on expensive metropolises. Steve, what does that mean?
We're going to turn into an expensive metropolis.
Or we're still cheaper than other expensive metropolises.
For
you
now.
can look at it either way. For now. We're still way cheaper than San Francisco and San Diego and LA and Chicago and New York. We're still way cheaper.
Yep. For now.
For now. No, yeah, it won't last forever. But the housing market, Austin housing market, which has become one of the most overheated in the country, experienced a significant slowdown after the pandemic, with return to office orders affecting the number of people relocating to the Texas capital. With a few notable exceptions, home prices have been consistently falling in the city year over year since late 2022. Good thing I pulled data. The city's boom and bust story of Austin housing market is basically the same as a national story, just a bit more dramatic. That's what some guy at Realtor.com said. Following the peak of the pandemic, there was a major run-up in home prices amid record low mortgage rates as buyers rushed to snatch up homes. That's true. That is a fact. That happened. It was not healthy. It wasn't healthy. We know that.
It was artificial, and anyone paying attention.
Yeah. I mean, we could do it again. The government would just have to artificially suppress interest rates again. Okay, done. Like it's a switch you can turn on, and thank God we're not turning that switch on again. Eldon Rood, longtime housing market analyst based in Austin, told Newsweek Texas was one of several Sun Belt states that experienced significant in-migration between 2020 and 2022, which resulted in an imbalance in demand oversupply for homes. You want me to tell you a secret?
Please.
Do you know that Austin is still in the top 10, or Texas is still in the top 10 of inbound migration states?
Cool.
Cool.
It makes sense when you look at our tax laws and everything. If you come from an outside country.
This guy's going, oh, yeah, between those dates, it was huge. Well, yeah.
I'm thinking of 2022 and how painful it was. That was the most painful year in my working career.
Yeah. Such strong demand coupled with extremely low mortgage rates resulted in significant increases in home prices in all the major metro areas in the state. Yeah. By the way, Houston has already lost all the gains since COVID, but they're focusing on Austin. How do you like that? What sells newspaper articles? The median list. Now, this is where it starts to get fun. The median what price?
Listing, not sold.
Price.
Listing.
Sold price. Median listing price jumped from $369 to $625. Uptick of 69%. There you go. A while ago it was over 60. Now it's 69 in just 2 years. At the same time, inventory plummeted. It did, though it quickly recovered to pre-pandemic levels by 2023. Okay. Since then, inventories continued to grow year over year. March 2025 had more active for sale listings in Austin than any March in our data history, which dates back to 2017.
Oh,
this is the
over
time
the
on the
last
show when
7
we laugh.
years.
Yeah. It's 8 years. Yeah. By the way, guys, we definitely encourage audience participation and for you to laugh along in the comments or give us comments along in the comments. Oh, but the buyers are not exactly jumping on the chance at buying a home, even with more options available on the market. Just because home prices are coming down and there's more listings doesn't mean that prices are affordable. There's still a supply problem in Austin. What? I think only 25% of Austinites can afford to purchase a home at a median home price. I think that number's wrong, but I can't prove it. So he said, I think. I'm going to say I think also. With interest rates now higher than they were prior to COVID, coupled with a slower economy and less in-migration into the state, there are now fewer buyers in the market, and what buyers there are face affordability challenges given the elevated home prices as well as higher mortgage payments. Okay, we're still getting there. Supply growth has softened prices. Median list price again this or last month was 510,000. Wait, what was it up here? 625. Okay, so the list price has dropped 115,000 in 3 years. Okay. Down 7.2% from March 2024. It's been a slow year, 12 consecutive months of prices falling year over year. The correction has come for Austin sooner and more significantly than the national housing market. According to Turner, home prices are now stabilizing after an unprecedented drop since 2017. Despite a gloomy outlook, Turner said Austin's economy remains robust. Our real estate market is returning to a new normal in terms of supply and demand.
What? Didn't you just tell me it's the highest ever? In
Yes,
7 or 8 years?
I guess. As long as the Trump administration's tariffs don't massively disrupt the market.
Well,
Austin's
they
economy.
have. That's not a political point. That's a fact. But keep going.
Well, they've uncertainty. Yeah,
Have
we've
you
talked.
seen the manufacturing numbers? They are. Man, I'm so happy I'm not a manufacturing ordering person. I mean,
One of the interesting things I saw today was our buddy Ryan Walker shared. It's the cardboard manufacturing, the number of boxes that are built, and it's down, right? Since I think it's one of the lower levels since COVID. But yeah, it's an indicator, right? It's a recession indicator. People are buying less shit from Amazon.
okay, but they should be higher than ever last month for the producer prices indexes because before the tariff wars hit, there were so many companies that spent like crazy, which makes it look nice when it's really not. You know, they're weathering for the storm.
Right, right. Turner said existing homes currently for sale in Austin are not going to be impacted much by the tariffs, but they're influencing buyer behavior. Okay, making them cautious. I think I said on the show, the studies that have come out, tariff prices could potentially increase new home inventory prices. Is that enough? Air quotes between 1 and 1.9%, so less than 2%. Okay. For new home construction, this is the thing. For new home construction, on the other hand, the impact of tariffs cannot be overstated. Significant cost increases. Bullshit. We just seen.
Right, we already did this in an episode. Tell us why. Where specifically in Texas? Why?
Because he says we're more reliant on imported building supply. Yeah, we import all 6%? Of our lumber from freaking Tennessee.
What was the actual cost of
7.9% is what we import.
So the prices of new homes might go up by 7.9% is what you're telling me.
Because the tariffs are 25%. So if you do the math, it comes down to right at 3%. But again, the studies have shown with where the tariffs are placed, between 1 and 1.9%, that's what it will affect a new home. This guy doesn't know his butt from his elbow. In Texas, we're reliant on importing building supplies. Whatever. That combined with falling prices would be devastating. Not just in Austin, but nationwide. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm tired of this. Would you like to see hear the data that I've collected?
Sure.
So,
sure.
Look, statistics, right? I tried to be broad, but also fairly specific. So what I did is I went back to January 1st of this year to today, and I pulled all the closed properties or all the closed residential properties in Austin. Okay. Do you know? Well, you don't know. I'll tell you. The median closed price so far this year, because again, I can't compare it to an entire year's worth of data because we're not even in our selling season yet. So I'm just doing this, first 4 months. $339,000 is our median closed price in Austin.
349.
339.
339. Okay.
Yep. 2024, same time period. Median closed price 342.
340 what?
342. 1% difference.
That's unprecedented.
2023. 339.
Oh, that's the same thing. That's unprecedented.
2022 was a huge year, right? We were just told that 2022, the prices skyrocketed. 340.
Those bastards.
2021,
Yeah.
386. It was really high.
386.
386. It was
Okay,
really
that
high.
was high. So that was a huge plunge. So they're using the wrong number or the wrong dates.
Oh my God. Look, I'm sure some data analysis could come in and tell me why my numbers are wrong. I get it. But
Well, everybody knows who's living here that the value of their home has come down, and there's more listings, and what? Yeah, what Ann is saying here,
yeah, Ann
right?
nails it. Builders are cutting prices. They're going to make less money on every home. The builders are the ones that are dictating pricing right now because there's not much resale inventory that's selling. And
That was
by
going
the
to be my
way,
next point.
what are builders trying to sell? Do you think all the production builders are trying to build $700,000 homes in Austin? No, because every article that you read says that we don't have any affordable homes. So builders are racing to build houses in Taylor and Gerald and Georgetown and Elgin and Manor and Bastrop, where they can buy cheap farmland and they can throw up houses as cheap as possible and try to sell them for $250,000. That's what builder that's why the damn median house prices are down. It's not the resale inventory. Oh my God. We do this every week, man. Y'all tell me, guys. Y'all are watching the show. Do we need to come up with more material, or do you like us ripping down national articles and making people seem like the idiots that they are?
I mean, the reality is the news may not be accurate at times, and if you're reading it thinking now is a bad time to buy, what you should actually be doing is talking to some professionals, letting them run some numbers for you without hurting
Yeah,
your credit. I could do that too, by the way.
yeah.
And get you a couple answers before you decide you can't buy. If it's
Well,
something that,
that's
go ahead.
no, and I was just going to tag on. Like that's the thing, right? It's not the right time for everybody to buy, but it could be the right time for a lot of people to buy.
Oh, usually people buy when things happen, like you're pregnant, you had a kid,
Yeah, life
you get a divorce, the kids go off to college, that kind of stuff. That's life changes.
right.
And when you have a big life change,
Remote work.
yeah, hey, touche. Yes, sir. And so, there are ways to do this without getting caught in a sales web where you feel pressured into doing, into buying or whatever.
Yeah.
You just get your answer, get in, get out, and move on. We might send you an email once a month kind of thing, but at the end of the day, you can even click on subscribe to that. So,
And
you
look,
know,
I need to be really, really, completely honest, right? Because that's what I try to do. Oh, here we've got somebody. We're buying a ranch in Florence, waiting for the realtor's market research. I feel like it's a buyer's market. Ranches seem to be on the market a little longer. I'm going to tell you my experience with raw land. I mean, raw land stays on the market longer, but right now, and I've got two large pieces of property listed right now, and there's really not any buyers for it. They've both been on the market for an extended period of time. But the thing about raw land is the buyers own it. They're not going to take a hit on it, so they're not really like residential property and farm and ranch or development land are kind of different. If those people are not in a bind to sell that, they're just not. They're going to hold on to their land until they get their number. Like that's all it is. You're going to be looking for their number, and if you can reach their number now, great. If you come in too low, they're not going to sell it. They'll just wait. That's the key on farm and ranch, unless they're in a bind. But that's the same with residential, right? If you have to sell it, they're going to try to get close to their number. But yeah, that's the tough thing. But the good thing about that comment, by the way, VSpot, is that you have a realtor that's running market research for you. That's the key part. Um, I don't know. I was going to be completely honest. The numbers that I gave you here, those numbers that are all right around 340, that's Austin as a whole. That's the entire Austin metro. That's freaking kind of goes up to Belton and down to San Marcos, and we'll call it Smithville to Fredericksburg. And I know Fredericksburg's got their own MLS, whatever, but that's kind of the radius that we're talking about. If you look at micro markets within that, individual suburbs and exurbs, Dripping Springs is taking a hit. Like if you're a buyer and you've wanted to move to Dripping Springs to try to get your kids into a good school, now's the time to move to Dripping Springs, because there are people out here that have to sell, and there's very few buyers that are coming out here. But again, to Steve's point, talk to somebody who understands how to actually analyze data. Don't, if you're getting on a phone with a realtor and they're like, hey, what are you approved for? Oh, you're not approved. Well, let's get you with a lender. Great. Okay, you're approved for 700. Great. Let's go shopping for 700. Where do you think you want to go? No, you need to have somebody that's having conversations with you.
The problem I think that most people run into is they wait until there's no pain. Right. And so it's like, think of this like the job market instead of the real estate market, right? You're going to go and get a job when you get fired, maybe when the economy gets tough, right? Or when your company decides, hey, we're going to have to take pay cuts, or we're going to get acquired and pay less, etc.
Yeah.
And okay, well, now it's time to look for a job, but you're doing that during a bad economy, right?
Yeah.
Why would you look for a job when things are great and you're getting paid really well and your bonus is coming that Christmas? By the way, that's the time to do it. Those are when all the best
Right.
jobs are available, right? And the same thing is really true with the housing market right now. Yeah, the interest rate kind of sucks, man, compared to before, right? A few years ago. But there's a lot of hurt people right now, and they really need your help to get out from underneath their home,
Yep.
and they're willing to take a hit on their home just to get out, right? And okay, so then you refinance when the market gets better, right? You enjoy your secure job when the recession comes, because you made the change when things were good.
That's right.
It's a weird way of thinking, but
It
you
is.
know, what
And she came back to say, so 8 acres, 12 days on market, has a pool and a 2020 house. So that's different. That's not raw land. I was thinking raw land. So yeah, that's easier to comp, right? That's pretty easy. But you're right. Larger properties are staying on the market because honestly, not everybody wants 8 acres. And a lot of people that I know that have bought 5 to 10 to 15 acres after about 5 years are like, nope, let me get rid of this. It's too much damn work. Uh, so, but good luck on that. And Ann was saying here, if they have ag exemptions, they don't have the added cost. That's right. Hold costs for something with ag exemptions is extremely low. I know of a property that's close to 100 acres, and their total tax bill for the year is like $1,500. So they don't care. They'll hold it. They will hold it. But again, the point is, she's working with an agent. Find a good agent. Hell, Ann's on here all the time. Steve knows Ann. Ann's a good agent.
Ann is a great agent. She works down south, South Austin, south of the river,
Nice.
that kind of area. She does work a little bit north of that. I'm not sure she's really out by Dripping, and if she were, I wouldn't say anything because of you, sir. But Ann is a terrific agent. She is. I really
And by
like Ann
the
a lot.
way, I've got a house in 4-9 that I need to get moved. Come on, find me a buyer for it. Um,
She might.
you're very, very sweet. Um, the man, it sounds like a broken record, but if people are watching national news, it doesn't make sense. Just like me saying all these stats for the greater Austin area, it doesn't matter to Dripping Springs. Dripping Springs is taking a hit. And we know that. And Florence is a good place to buy right now because it's still one of the exurbs. It's further out. And when prices expand and contract, they do it from the center out. It's concentric circles around the major things, downtown Austin, or employers like Tesla, okay, or the airport, stuff like that. So those are the concentric circles. And as you get further and further out, they're slower to appreciate, but they're faster to lose value because they're not as desirable from a location standpoint. And when you in your real estate, it's location, location, location.
Well, also, we just went through this pandemic where the opposite was true.
Hey, I didn't know you lived in Drip.
Oh, I knew
I
she
had
was
no
south.
idea.
Okay, well, you didn't have to put that online.
No, it
Just
does.
kidding.
Hell, it does. There's a lot of good agents in Drip. There really are.
A dome house. Oh my God.
That's awesome. That is
That
awesome.
is that is interesting to say the least.
That's going to be a hard sale. You've lived here for 30 years?
And
Okay.
don't send me the loan. Those are the hardest loans to do. I might try, but oh my
And
God.
there you go, guys. If you love something like a geodesic dome house, you better know financing is difficult because there's no
It
comp.
is anything that isn't, your cookie cutter, what
Ah,
you'd buy a cookie looking kind of thing, literally cookie cutter house, anything that's weird or out of the norm is not what I specialize in. There are lenders that do.
yeah.
My advice to someone looking for 1,000+ acres, kind of, not normal, at least, in my neighborhood, normal.
Okay.
You would go to a local credit union. Usually that's
Yeah.
the best way to do it.
Or another local bank. I mean, I know Ann's got them. Trey Powers is a guy out here that, does farm and ranch and construction. And that's not, when I've got
Sure.
buyers that do that, I don't send them to Steve because he
No,
doesn't do
and
it.
you shouldn't. And zero offense. I would do a horrible job, and you probably wouldn't use me anymore. Yeah, no. Or you just accept the fact that you can't use me for those.
You did a
Like
horrible
this.
job. You owe me beer.
Yeah, kidding, right? Yeah. No, it's not every lender can do everything, which is also one of the pet peeves when you see
Yeah.
someone that says they can. So
Well,
it's
and again, like that's one of the things, we always tell people you start with a lender, always start with a lender, but you have to have a free, open conversation with the lender on what you're looking for. Like if hey, I'm looking for acreage, and you go to Steve and you're like, hey, Steve, I want acreage and I want to build a house, okay, Steve's going to be like, well, I don't do that, but let me connect you with a realtor that's going to know somebody who does. And so that's kind of how that conversation goes.
yeah.
Oh yeah, Ann nailed it. Insurance. Oh my God, I can't imagine insurance on a geodesic dome. We need to do we need to do one of these on insurance because it's gotten crazy. Just absolutely stupid. Insurance agencies are crooks. I mean, they're just trying to make money. I shouldn't say they're crooks, but anyway, it's for profit. We know that. You're
Do
biting
you know
your
how much
tongue.
profit they make?
It's only like 2%. Is it more?
It's not even.
Oh, okay. I was about to say I thought it was really, really low.
Yeah, most people think of insurance companies as absolute creeps of the earth that don't, and they, quite frankly, denying claims, etc., is not a good thing. Okay, so I'm
Yeah.
not saying they're bad, but when you think of someone that fits that description, at least for me, I also think, man, they're money grubbing, greedy, really wealthy. But then in the reality, when you find out that they only make a profit of 2%, and if a hurricane comes along, they could go out of business overnight. It's like, oh well, maybe I was a little too harsh, like maybe not. Again, don't deny benefits and everything, but
Oh
but
my
but
God. Her auto went up 42%. And if you're in Dripping Springs, call Ann Archambault with Rollo Insurance over here. She and Robert are awesome. If you need, I'll send you their contact information. They're brokers, so like Steve, brokers, you can shop a bunch of them, but you know that. Guys, we are done. We do this every Monday, by the way, and eh, if you got a better idea for the show, like if there's something specific that you want us to cover, tell us. Put it in the comments. We'll talk about whatever, as long as we know something about it, and maybe if we don't too, I don't know.
we can make stuff up.
Yeah, I can make it. I've got ChatGPT. I can figure it out. My man, I appreciate it as always.
Thank you, sir.
See
Next
you
week.
next Monday.